to kind of like solve this problem is to try to record every meeting and maybe upload those meeting online where other people will be able to view them and see them, as well as, for example, the discussions and the talk that our invited guests might give. They'll be able to see them later on if they can, be part of the meeting. The other ways is for us that we're thinking of actually making this also easier for other people is that if there's a presentation that is given, we'll be able to put them in a particular, online drive, a cloud, where they'll be able to access it later on, and they'll be able to go over them, and maybe if they have any questions, then they can direct those questions to the speaker. And we're also hoping to also, write the minutes down, and we're still, looking for volunteers if people is going to be able to help us do all this minutes, for example. But we're hoping to be able to write the minutes down and then maybe to share the minutes for other people that are not able to join the meeting. So these are some of the ways that we're hoping to kind of like make things a little bit easier, and hopefully with time we can also figure out more efficient ways to do this. Does anybody have any other suggestions on how for this particular challenge of time and how we can make it better? Yeah, okay. So if you have a particular suggestions, maybe a good idea would be perhaps to email. You can't really say that here. So I think what we have next on our agenda is to talk about the subgroup meeting that we've been doing. So we, as some of you might already know, we divided the entire group into two main groups. We have the orange group and we have the blue group. And some of the reason why we decided to divide it into two was because we wanted to be able to give a more focus to a better discussion within each subgroup, where people will be able to get to know other participants a little bit better and be able and feel more comfortable asking more personal questions, more research-related or career-related questions that they might not feel particularly comfortable asking in the general meeting like this one. So we have kind of like a logistical meeting in my group, which is the orange group, last month, and we had a couple of discussions, and I can't see if any of my other subgroup members are here, but among them is, for example, Conley, who is in France. We have Bastien, who is in South Africa. We have Adeyemi and a whole host of other people. But some of the challenges that was raised, for example, just to give a quick update here, is also the challenges of time, and also the fact that we want to try to figure out a more better way to kind of like raise enthusiasm among the group and kind of like participation, to also increase participation among the group members. So yeah, I'm going to be sending out links to the meeting later on for anybody that might be interested to know more about what we discussed. Does anybody have any questions so far or comments? Any questions or comments? Okay. So next on the agenda, I thought I'm going to highlight quickly that a number of us are going to be at AGU this December. So if you're there, and I think it would be a good idea for some of us to connect and just have a general discussion there, maybe have a group dinner or something like that. So if you're going to be there, I think you can just highlight within the Slack group that you're going to be there, and then we can know those of us that are going to be there. But more particularly, I want to mention that Dee, who is also on Discord, is going to be given a particular the presentation, I think. Did you talk about that a little bit more? Did, can you hear me?
I think you should just go straight to Jeana.
All right. Okay. Just to say a little bit, I think Deep is going to be giving a presentation particularly about environmental science without borders at EDU.
Oh, yes, she is.
She will. Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to be at EDU, please stop by Deep's poster. I think it's posted.
Thursday.
And it's going to be Thursday morning, right? I think she might be setting up details about time later on or more information. But the poster is specifically going to be about the environmental science without borders. So that being said, I think we will be soliciting for people to send, a couple of things that perhaps is going to help us get to know you a little bit better. So specifically we want to ask that people send one, maybe a picture of themselves. If you're a member of this group, I think it's going to be useful if you send a picture of yourself. That way we can showcase you on our Facebook page, and as we develop our website, we're going to be able to showcase us on the website. But we also want people to send a short video of themselves where you introduce yourself, you say your name, you say where you're from. For example, my name is Adeyemi Adebiyi, and I'm originally from Ondo State in Nigeria. And you talk about a little bit about what you're studying. For example, if you're studying atmospheric sciences, you can say you're studying atmospheric sciences. And if you're doing research, like for example, if you're a master's student or a PhD student or even undergraduate and you're doing research, you tell us the title of your research and a little bit about what you're doing. For example, I am studying atmospheric science, and my research is about effect of dust particles on climate. And for example, you can say a little bit more like how dust affects climate and things like that. So the idea behind this is just so that we can give a little bit more visibility to our individual participants. Of course, we know we have a number of people here. So it's gonna be nice if we get to know you a little bit better on that context. But everyone else can also put a face with the name, and also we can use that also to showcase you on our several platforms like Facebook page and as well as other platforms that we have. So you can send that video or your picture to ESWB.ucla@gmail.com, or you can just reply one of the messages that you might have already gotten from me. Yeah. So does anybody have any comments on that question? I can see that we have more people joining. Kuli, welcome. Any comments? Do you all think that this video and picture idea is going to be something useful for us to kind of like showcase people?
Can I suggest something?
Yeah, go ahead, Amos.
Yeah, I think the video call is more important to interact with one another. So at least I'm able to see the people I'm talking to. So that's very, very crucial. So this can continue. We can schedule one more time, or maybe several times as time goes by. But I think we should not abandon this. It's very crucial. On time, I think we'll have to bear with us with time, despite the fact it's very, it's late night now in Kenya. I know at some parts it's daytime, but that's fine. We can manage that. And for specific groups that you talked about, having the orange and the blue group, I think that's very crucial. Although I haven't been able to submit any comment on that, but I think I've been fixed somehow on research work that I'm doing on elephants in Kenya. So can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you very well. Yeah.
Good. So I would suggest we have several questions to the individuals who are mentors. So on the emails, as you said, I think would be very, very important when we have the person mentoring the undergraduates, because I'm one of them. we can have emails done through to the mentors on specific questions, as you suggested. That would be very, very important. So I think we can continue like that and have everyone airs their questions direct to their mentors, and something like that would be very, very important. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Amos. That's a great suggestion. Yeah, we're definitely going to continue having this video conference. I think it's going to be something that's going to be a core of our program here, because of course it's going to give us a venue to let everybody know what we've been doing, and as well as get feedback back from what's going on with everybody else. But of course, we hope to get more involvement of all the participants, and that's why the suggestion of this mini video that introduces people is going to be useful. On one hand, for example, it's going to give us more idea of what you are doing, for example, Amos, so I get to know what you're doing, and if other people will be able to see it, they can also share it, and that might create a venue for potential collaborators or people that will say, okay, this person is actually in this particular location, and I'm interested in doing a particular study that is related to what this person is studying. Maybe that will give an opportunity to be able to contact you. Of course, we'll have your contact and we'll be able to direct such people to you, for example. And yeah, so I think that might be something useful. So we're soliciting that everybody, including our mentors and the mentees, all the participants should give some kind of like just 5-minute video. It's not just a mini video you can record with your phone, and you can send it to us via email, or if you're on Slack, you can share it through Slack, and we can rebroadcast that to other platforms. If you're also on, so I think one thing I should mention here quickly is that we have a Facebook page. So if you're not on the Facebook page, you might have see that I write it in the email. If you're on Facebook, please like our Facebook page so that that way we can also share some other information with you. Any other comment about the time, the video, or everything else I've said so far? Okay. So like I said earlier, I created because of the challenges of these time differences, and also because we've received comment that internet connection sometimes is a little difficult for a lot of our participants, especially those that are in Africa, some countries in Africa. But most of them have GSM, which are often connected to their smartphone. So it appears that most of our participants are likely going to have the so-called WhatsApp. I'm sure a lot of us are already familiar with that. So yesterday we decided to create a WhatsApp group for the participants, where I think it might be relatively easier for them to connect via the platform as opposed to the Slack, or for some of them are not able to directly connect because on this conference, perhaps because of the time, or because there's not enough bandwidth for the internet connection. So we have created a WhatsApp group. I think we're gonna be sending out the WhatsApp group link also to everyone, should you want to be part of that. But we're hoping that some of the participants that are not able to kind of like be part of this group or be able to have Slack accounts work on their smartphone will perhaps be able to still be on the platform and interact with other participants using that WhatsApp group. Does anybody have any suggestion, point to comment on that? Okay. If there's no comment or questions, we're gonna ask Jeana to present, to tell us a little bit about how to prepare a good CV, and also tell us a little bit more about how to prepare a good CV here and CV design. Jeana, take it away.
Okay. So should I just share my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen if you can. That would be great.
Okay, and then afterwards I can, I emailed a PDF of the presentation to the central email if you want to share that with the people who are calling in.
Yes, please. Yeah. So yeah, but we're gonna also put it in our Google Drive where we can send out the link to anybody else that also wants to see. But you can share it with everybody.
Okay, sounds good. Let me get this as big as I can. Okay. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
You can see that?
Yes, good. Yes.
Okay. Are you also seeing all of the pictures that I see on the side, or do you see a full screen of all of the words that's
We see a full screen.
But you don't see any of the extra zoom stuff that I'm seeing where I'm seeing everybody's picking.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wanted to make sure. Okay. So hi everyone. I'm Jeana Drake. I'm a postdoc at UCLA. I'm an oceanographer and I study coral calcification. And so today I'm going to tell you a little bit about making a CV, an academic resume. Because I'm American and I'm in America, this is going to be biased towards US style CVs, but I'll also try to throw in what I do know about European CVs. And I encourage discussion about any differences that there might be for academic resumes specific to Africa as well. So I show here on the first slide, on the left is the first of my 10 pages of my long CV. And on the right is a one-page CV. So you'll have a lot of information that will go onto a longer CV. And then I'll also talk about ways to condense that down into single 1- and 2-page resumes. So the three things that I'm going to cover today are the broad strokes. What do you need to make sure that you include in your CV? Also, what are things that you maybe want to leave out of your CV depending on where you are applying to? That'll be the bulk of what I talk about. I'll also talk about the different types of resumes, basically based on length and the information that you include. And then because we're all scientists here and we're nitpicky about things, there are some small details that really count on your CV that can make a big difference. So I'm going to start with this blank page. Let's see if I can a little smaller. Okay, this is a blank page. This is your just what you're looking at on your Word document. I highly recommend that you number the pages of your CV because if you have a long CV, somebody prints it out, they drop it on the floor, it's now all out of order. So I strongly recommend that you number the pages of your CV. The first thing you're going to put on your CV is your name. If you have any publications, this should be the name as it is on your publication. So when I publish as Jeana L. Drake. So that's the name that I put at the top of my resume. If you've chosen an additional name, perhaps an English name, I've seen a lot of people put their given name, their birth name, and then in parentheses their English name. That's very common. That needs to be at the top of your resume. That should be the largest thing on the first page of your resume. Underneath that, you would put your the university that you're at, the department, its physical location, including the country zip code, and your email address. On American CVs, we don't include other personal information. We don't include birthdays. We don't include pictures. We don't include city, state, or country of birth. On European CVs, people sometimes do this. It's typically older people that are still including this type of information on their academic resumes in Europe, but in Europe, they're typically moving away from including this type of information. If you do apply to a university or a job in Europe, you could include this information. If you apply in the US, I would not include birthday, country of origin, or a picture of yourself. Okay. So now we move on to education, and this is what should come after your name and contact information. Oh, I also didn't mention cell phone number. In Europe, sometimes people will include their cell phone number on their resumes. In America, we typically don't. I usually include my cell phone number at the bottom of my cover letter. Okay, so next is education. You should start with your most recent degree. The crucial information that you should include are the degree type, a PhD, a Master of Science, Master of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts. If you have an associate's degree, start with the most recent degree. You should include the year that you got it, the university that you got it from, and the department. You may or may not, however you choose, also include your advisor's name, your dissertation or thesis title, and then if you're an undergrad, you may also include skills that you learned during that time. So start from the most advanced, most recent degree and work backwards. In the US, we don't include secondary school information on our academic resumes. In Europe, especially if you're kind of getting into graduate school, sometimes people do include secondary information or secondary school information. Okay. So after education, as long as you're applying within a university setting, and especially if you're focusing on research, the next thing that should come is your research experience. And again, you're working from the most recent job to your earliest job. You should include your job title and the years, the year range at which you worked there. If it was in a university, include the lab name, the principal investigator's name, the department, the physical location, and possibly also skills learned. And you should limit this section to your research jobs. Yeah, so this is how your first page should look. You have your name and your contact information, your education, and your research experience. After that, if you are staying within academia, you would probably also want to include your teaching experience. And there you would need the department in the university, the title of the most recent course that you taught or TA'd, and your position, whether you were the instructor or whether you were the teaching assistant, and the year, the session and the year that you taught it. And again, starting from most recent, you basically reverse chronological order. Then you could include other relevant work experience. So I was a sea turtle nest surveyor in college. And so I include something like that under my other relevant work experience, where it's not necessarily lab-based, but it does show that you have learned other skills. In many cases, it also shows that you took the initiative and worked a bunch of jobs while you were a student. I think that pays off a lot for people looking at your resume. So you may also include other non-relevant work experience. Like when I was in an undergrad, I worked 3 jobs at this school. And so when I was applying to master's programs, I included the fact that I waited tables at 3 different restaurants so that they could see how hard I was working. Then that would show that I would be a hardworking master's student. You'll also want to include any peer-reviewed publications that you have, things that went through the peer review process and have been published in journals. Make sure your name is in bold so that it's easier for them to see where you are in the author list. And again, use reverse chronological order, most recent to the earliest papers that you've published. You can also include reports and other non-peer reviewed papers. If you've worked for a government agency, say, you may have produced a report, but don't include papers that you wrote for a class. For those of you going to AGU, you'll have a presentation or a poster. So I recommend that you have a section in your CV on presentations and posters. Again, most recent to earliest. You can include the title of your talk if you want. I would definitely include the name of the conference and where it was located, as well as the date. You should also include any grants and awards that you receive. If you get a fellowship, if you receive a travel award, if you receive even a small research grant, include that information as well. It shows that you're able to get money for your research. Other sections to include are student mentoring. If you're a master's student, you can list the students that you've mentored, and that looks really good, especially if you're applying for teaching positions. You should all be doing community and scholastic service if you are trying to go ahead in academia, if you've arranged a conference, if you led a school group on a tour of your research facilities, if you were a poster judge at a research symposium, include that sort of thing. Any academic societies that you're a member of, include those. If you've reviewed manuscripts, this might be for some of the more advanced students, but if you've reviewed any manuscripts, you can list those journals. If you're diving certified, if you have any special skills, if you are fabulous at MATLAB, you can include that in certifications and skills. And then lastly, you should include any languages that you speak. And you, for a language that is your native language, say that that's your native language. If you're fluent in other languages or beginner in other languages, definitely include those as well. Okay, so the type, here. If you are applying for a research-heavy position, here's a kind of an order that I would suggest listing all the sections on your resume. Because this highlights your research experience and that you can publish and get money. If you're applying for a teaching position, you would obviously put the teaching experience and student mentoring earlier in your resume. And I'll make sure that this gets posted so that you can see these orders. Okay. Second to last, the different types of resumes. I highly recommend you be prepared to make 4 types of resumes. You should have the long CV, and this is your master file. You should update this regularly. I am not at the point where I'm updating mine monthly. At a minimum, you should be updating this twice a year as you publish papers, as you TA classes, as you attend conferences, as you write reports, as you mentor undergrads, that sort of thing. This is going to be the long CV. It will have the titles of all of the presentations that you give at conferences. It'll have all of the names of your undergrads. My postdoc advisor's long CV is 40 pages long. No, most likely this is never going to see the light of day. This is where you draw your information to make next this condensed CV in the upper right-hand column or right-hand corner. This will be shorter. Mine is around 5 pages. And here I take off all of my non-peer reviewed, like my reports. I take off all of my non-relevant work experience, and I don't include presentation and poster files, but this condensed CV is what I send out on job applications. In the lower left-hand corner is the 2-pager. So this would be a 2-page CV. It has bare minimum information about your degree, bare minimum information about work experience, like you may leave off the title of your thesis for the 2-page CV. If you're very advanced, you would probably list only either your 20 most recent publications or your 20 most relevant publications, but you would make sure to include grants and awards. And then the shortest type of CV is the 1-pager or the bio sketch. This has the bare minimum information. If you go back to this file later and look at the title slide, the page on the right is my bio sketch. So it has, for my degree information, only my degree, the date, and the university that I got it from, bare minimum work info, title, where I worked, when I worked there. It only has 5 publications and only has 5 grant awards. So keep a long CV as a master file and be prepared to make these other ones as necessary. And lastly, because scientists are very specific about things, there's some small points that will make a big difference that can put you over the hump when you're applying for a job or a position at a university. So you'll notice this presentation was a white background with black text. That's how your CV should be. You want people to just focus on your skills and how good you would be at doing the job, and don't distract them with weird colored backgrounds or borders or anything like that. As far as font, so this is the type of lettering that you have. There are a surprising number of scientists that get annoyed by font. So if you prefer to use serif font, and these are fonts that have the extra little pieces off the ends of the letters, I would choose Georgia, Times New Roman, and Garamond. If you prefer a sans serif font, these don't have the extra little flags hanging off the ends of the letters. I would choose Helvetica and the Trebuchet MS. These types of fonts are pleasing to the eye, and when you have somebody who's just going through lists and lists and lists of CVs, you want your CV to be as pleasing to the eye as possible. I will say never, ever, ever use Calibri, Cambria, or Arial font. Those fonts annoy so many people, me in particular. I can't even look at them on my screen because they really annoy me. And I don't know why it is, but a lot of people do not like those fonts. In addition, they're overused. The Calibri is the default font in Microsoft Word when you open it. So I strongly recommend that you don't use those fonts. If you're applying in the US, use 8.5 by 11 paper. If you're applying in Europe, use A4. I don't actually know if there's a different paper size in Africa, but so in a Word document, you would go under page layout, and you can choose American letterhead, no border, to choose the 8.5 by 11, and you could choose the European no border to get the A4 size paper. This is important because if somebody prints out the paper, the document that you send them, you don't want your CV to get shifted around between pages. If you're applying in the US, don't include a photo of yourself. If you're applying in Europe, maybe. I strongly recommend that you have a native speaker look at your CV. If I was going to apply somewhere in Spain, even though I took a lot of Spanish classes in college and speak some Spanish, I would definitely send my resume to a native Spanish speaker. I strongly recommend also, lastly, that you send your CV as a PDF, and that you embed the fonts. I wouldn't send it as a Word document or other text document because it's more likely that your fonts and your formatting will get moved around in Word and text documents. They should be a little bit more attached to the document if you use a PDF. And so that is everything that I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Any questions? You can unmute yourself if you have a question to ask.
This is Kevin. I just wanted to make the remark that like when we get CVs a lot from African students, they always put your pictures on them. And one of the things that we always try to insist, please don't put your pictures in your CV. It creates bias. So it's one of the things I just wanted to add.
Very good point. Yeah, I think there's that common mistake. I certainly have done the same mistake when I was in high school trying to apply for grad school. I remember my first CV actually had my picture in it. So yeah, nobody really wants to see. But maybe in Europe, I'm not sure, but definitely like Jeana said here in America, in US, I think pictures should not be in your CV.
And I think
yeah, go ahead, Jeana.
Oh, I was going to say, I think when Europeans include their pictures on their CVs, it tends to be the older Europeans, like people in their 50s and 60s, who were making CVs originally when that was popular to do. And I'd say for younger people, they're definitely moving away from it.
Yeah. Any other question? If you have a question, please just unmute yourself on your phone or your computer. Yeah, I think I have one question. Do you think there's any other do's or don'ts that you should do or you should not do as far as CVs are concerned that perhaps in your experience you've come across, Jeana? Some other do's and don'ts.
I think just one of the do's is just getting the ordering correct and making sure that if you're applying for like a research job, that you highlight your research experience, and if you're applying for a teaching job, highlight your teaching experience. I've never had anyone tell me, when I've applied for research positions, I've never had anyone tell me that I put too much information in my CV. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean like when I've listed skills that I've learned in different jobs. especially at the beginning of my career. Now I tend to leave that out because my CV, my condensed CV is still 5 pages, and everything becomes obvious. So if you're at the beginning of your career and you're applying for a research job, the more information that you can give them about the skills that you have, I would say the better. And so that includes like listing the title of your undergraduate thesis or master's thesis for research related work, including instruments that you've worked on, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's great. Calvin, I wonder if in your experience also maybe you've had some do's and don'ts that you see on people's CV other than the picture, because I mean I think you definitely, your professors, you have opportunity to look at several other CVs of students that are applying to your department. What do you think?
No, I think Jeana, she has done a really great job of explaining really what you need on your CV. If we follow her guidelines, I think we're just going to get an impeccable CV. I think she covered all the do's and the don'ts, I think.
That's great. Yeah. Any question?
Okay, good. I'm having a question here.
Sorry, who is talking? Nii?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind maybe coming closer a little bit to your computer or speak a little louder?
Okay. In a situation in which you've been involved in researches of PhD students,
Okay.
and then is it tenable to put it in your CV and you've been involved as field assistant or research assistant? So is it tenable to include it in the CV as part of the research experience?
Jeana?
In PhD projects, and you were invited to be a field assistant or research assistant in such projects. So is it tenable to be put as a part of the research experience?
I would say so. In fact, you can make subdivisions within the headings that I gave in the presentation, where you could have research experience. You could have a subdivision between lab experience and field experience or field projects. And then that would be a good place to put that sort of information. And that's actually a good point, because as a PhD student, you often get dragged into other projects that aren't necessarily your PhD research. And so, like, for instance, I co-organized a session on coral genomics. And so that actually ended up in community service, because I co-organized that mini conference, and then a paper came out of that. So it ended up in the paper. And so if that sort of information kind of ends up somewhere else, like if you were a co-author on some of these side projects, then that would, I think that would be reflected in the peer-reviewed publication section.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nii, thank you very much for the question. Anybody else? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Oh, Yemi, can I make one more point that I forgot?
Yes, please.
Under peer-reviewed publications, if you have a publication in preparation where you're writing it, maybe just waiting for one last figure, but you haven't submitted it, you can include that in your peer-reviewed publications list. You would just list it as in preparation. And if you have a publication that is submitted somewhere, you can also list that, but where it's currently under review at a journal, definitely list that in your peer-reviewed publications as well.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Jeana, for taking the time to talk to us today about writing a great CV. I definitely have taken something away from it, and I hope to also so, thank you very much. She's going to be sending out we're going to be sending out a link to to the slides later on for those that might want to have it as a reference, just in case you're preparing it or you want to refine the ones that you already have sometimes in future. Yes, go ahead, Jeana.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yes.
As part of the subgroups, could I maybe suggest that all of the participants within the next month or so prepare a long CV and share it with their mentors to just go over and see, because I think the mentors would see any glaring things that should be changed or removed. And then that also would give the participants, if they don't already have a CV, this would force them to make one and have it at the ready. And for people who already do have a CV, would force them to.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Jeana. Yeah, so please, everybody, if you already have a CV or if you don't have a CV, if you can make one or refine the ones that you've already had based on some of these points that Jeana has shared with us, please do that and then share that within your subgroup and send it you can send it on the Slack to your subgroups or share that directly via email. And during the next subgroup meeting, it's going to be a good opportunity to have comments back on some of the things that you did right and some of the things that it's probably not enough, or maybe some other things that require some readjustment or some kind of to be polished in a better way. So please, everyone, all of us, if you can do your CV and send it to your, to the organizers in your subgroup, that would be really nice. Yeah, thank you. So just as a closing here, I just want to go over a couple of points. So first, I want to say that we're looking for volunteers who would serve as student ambassadors. So we want people that serve to be able to serve as student ambassadors. So if you're in South Africa in a particular university, you can be an active, be a student ambassador for your university. Please let me know. For example, if you're in Futa, if you're in OAU in Nigeria, if you're in South Africa, Congo, Kenya, wherever, please let us know if you're interested in becoming a student ambassador. Basically, what you're going to be doing for us or helping us do is just to help us spread the news a little bit better in your university to your colleagues, and then you can also be getting first-hand information about some of the changes that we're going to be making as time goes on. So just send an email to us. You can reply to that email directly to me, or just send a message to any of your mentors or organizers, and or in the Slack or WhatsApp group, and let us know if you want to become a student ambassador. Currently here in UCLA, we have Deep, who is on the line, and we also have Emily, who is our undergraduate ambassador. So Deep is our graduate student ambassador. We have Emily, who is the undergraduate student ambassador, and those two are going to be helping us to spread the word among graduate students as well as undergraduate students here at UCLA. So we're hoping to have the same position for any of you guys in other universities that it doesn't take too much of your time. You can easily just volunteer to be part of this. So if you're interested, please let us know. One other thing that I want to mention too is, again, if you're on Facebook, please like our page. I'm going to be sending out the links. Also, if you're interested in becoming part of the WhatsApp group, I'm also going to be sending out the link, as well as our Slack group. Also, don't forget to do the 5 minutes or a couple of minutes video and send it to us, as well as your picture, so that we can put you on our several platforms, as well as we build our websites. We want to be able to have your info on the website as well as the picture. So this is going to serve as the basis for that as time goes on. So please send that to us as well. Yeah, I think that's it. I just want to thank. Does anybody have any question before we go, or any comments? You can unmute yourself if you want to say something.
Yeah, thanks. Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think for the volunteership, I think I'm ready for that. I can.
Sorry, what? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, for the volunteership on recruiting undergraduate or even students, I would say I'll participate on that.
Okay.
Pretty much sure I can get more students here in Kenya, not only in the university where I am, but also from other universities in the country. I can also share the link with the neighboring countries like Uganda and Rwanda, where I've got some links. So that's pretty much easy for me to do, and maybe get students from some parts of Kenya and Uganda joining the platform. However, how do they join the group? Will that mean that I have to send them your email, or I have to send them a link, or when they're interested, how do I get them connected to you?
So there are several ways that they can join. Okay, one is going to be we're gonna have well. So first of all, you should send me an email so that I can send you all this link and maybe a little bit more details. But we're gonna have like a Google page where they can Google form where they can quickly put their generic information. I'm sure you probably do the same when you initially started with us. But we're also gonna have the Facebook where they can like the Facebook page. They can also have the WhatsApp group where other information are gonna be shared, of course, as well as the Slack group. So this is all the platforms. It's definitely one that allow us to have a little bit of their information. Is gonna be the Google form, which when you send me an email, I'm going to forward all those informations to you.
Okay, good. Then I'll be scouting.
Yeah, thank you. That would be great.
Yeah, good. And then I realize some of the professionals we have in the group, I think very few are working on my field, specifically on Raj Mamo's research, because that's what I'm doing. Specifically looking at elephants and the interaction with humans. And although I have got some big interest in bird research I've been doing for the last 5 years, and I think you can extend some, or rather welcome some more mentors in the field who will be able to guide the students who are also studying on those similar fields, because they understand you're working on ocean. I understand that the Jeana, Drake is working on something like ocean. So what do you think of that?
Yes, we are working to get more professors, more faculty members, more postdocs that would serve as mentors or guidance or organizers. Yes, we are working to do that. But that's going to be the mentor-mentee relationship. But one other thing that this platform is also useful for is that you don't necessarily also need a professor to answer your question. Maybe a colleague that is somewhere else that is also a PhD student or a master student might have ideas about the nature of the questions that you're asking. So for that, we are encouraging more peer mentorship relationship where you kind of throw out your questions and other people that have ideas in your same field will be able to give answers that will be relevant to your questions or useful for you. So we're both encouraging peer mentorship as well as mentor-mentee relationship as well. So we're working on all of that.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Amos. And yeah, I think we're out of time. So I really want to thank everybody for being part of this meeting today. We're going to be uploading the YouTube videos for other people to watch and for you to have as a reference as well as the slides the meeting. So thank you very much and have a great time. It's good to see everybody's face, or at least those that I can see your face. Thank you.
Good to see you all. I'm happy and hope to interact with you all soon.
Yeah, bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, Jeana. Thank you, Jeana.